Okay, right, let's do street talk. I want to make this a quick one. I don't want to go to bed too late.
Right.
It's school night.
You are wasting time by saying that. That's
Sorry.
like 30 seconds worth.
Oh my gosh, right. What have we got to talk about this week? We got a whole week and a bit's worth of... No, it's a week, 8 days worth of Coronation Street to do, but it's only 3 episodes, and we're going to kick off
It's the
with...
same as normal. What are you on about?
Yeah, but I'm trying to think back to like last Monday and the protest and everything, and it seems like so long ago, doesn't it?
Everyone will be really happy to know that I've used the extra time that we've had this weekend to invent a new word.
What is that?
I think I've invented a new word.
What?
Agitarian, which is somebody who agitates people and enjoys winding them up, but believes it's their moral duty to do so.
Oh, well, get it in the dictionary.
But I don't know whether...
It maybe is already a word.
Whether Spider and Griff and Toya are agitarians. I don't think that they enjoy winding people up. I think they just do it by accident.
We're going to talk about that story first. I want to call it Spider because he's a spy, innit?
Yes.
Yeah, kind of a spy. A detective spies. Is he spying on? Don't know. Come back to that in a minute.
Yeah, they are. Yeah,
this is a sort of spy, isn't it? He's in disguise.
Well, what's a spy? A spy is like on the side of good, isn't it?
Yeah. I think he's on the side. We've got to find out. We'll talk about that in a minute.
For the police.
Next up, we're going to talk about...
We all support His Majesty's Police, don't we?
His Majesty's
He's got a new boss this week.
He has, but they didn't talk about it. Didn't mention it, did he? I
Mention.
hear that on EastEnders tonight they had an extra scene where they talked about the Queen dying.
They've got to take down
EastEnders do like to do that.
Got to take down all the pictures of the Queen, put the King up now.
Yeah.
Aww.
I know,
it's
would
not
you
as
like
handsome,
Coronation Street to do it?
No.
I think we must have talked about it a lot of times before about commenting on current affairs and everything. I mean, this does feel like one of the biggest things that they could insert a scene about. But I don't know whether it would feel weird or not, or fake.
I texted you, didn't I? This was an unexpected event, so I think it would be weird, but I do expect them to talk about the coronation, because they're Coronation Street.
Yes, maybe.
I'm really excited. I can just imagine Jenny and Daisy putting out the bunting.
I think they will.
And if Spider's still in it, it'll be like, I think it's just a manifestation of the patriarchal nature of society that we have a king that we have to worship. He's just an ordinary man. And then someone will say, but Spider, isn't he very into the environment? He'll go, I'll give him a pass on that one then.
I want Audrey to say, I met him once, love, 20 years ago.
Did you know
I shook his hand.
Now, also, Charlie, at the weekend, pointed out, very good fact, that King Charles is now the only possibly named character to have appeared in EastEnders and Coronation Street.
That's true.
Because he was in both.
He was in EastEnders just recently, wasn't he?
Confirming,
it's the soap multiverse.
If we didn't know already, thanks to their environmental stuff that they did, that it is a shared universe between those two programmes, at least. Okay,
so second story up tonight, we're going to talk about the James Bailey stuff, which I spent ages trying to come up with. We were on because I heard about this a few weeks ago that this was going to happen, and we were going on a trip with your parents somewhere, and I was just thinking the whole time, what can I call this story? And the best I could come up with is professional kicker, dodgy ticker, which isn't the best.
It's fine.
Read in the Red is going to be next, and then I'm like this one about Sam's change.
Why is it Read in the Red? What does that mean?
He's got no money, has he?
I know, but what's that? It
he's
just
in
sounds
the red.
like it.
Read Red. We've had this one for weeks. You should have lodged a complaint a month ago.
Yeah.
Right, the Sam story. I'm pleased with this.
Why can't it be called Seeing Read?
I suppose he's a bit angry, isn't he?
Yeah.
Sam's story, he's having a bit of a makeover, isn't he? He's desperately attempting a makeover of himself to make himself more cool. I'm calling it Sam Difference.
Good one.
It's a good one. That's a good one. I like that one. We've also got, and we can confirm, that Ken is making changes to Roxana now, isn't he? So we can absolutely call the play story Ken Makes a Play for Wendy, which is the most awesome double meeting ever. We had a little bit more of the Cardi story line coming in tonight, as well as a couple of scenes of the stew been framed. But Spider first. Do you want to do it? You do it. You do Spider.
I'm going to do Spider just like Toya did. What a hussy she is, isn't she?
Total hussy, that Toya.
Real strumpet.
I'm on Sarah's side, I tell you what.
You're not, are you? She's probably the first person on Coronation Street to ever look like higher than the doorway,
Yeah.
going past there.
What stupid coincidence is that?
Cavorting around.
Cavorting on the balcony, and who should be downstairs? Oh, look, it's my dead husband's mum. It's the old
sour-faced
mother-in-law.
old trollop.
Right, go on. Back to the protest, Gem, on Monday last week.
Right, okay, so Spider catches up with Toya and he tries to explain where he went. I don't remember where he went. She says fine.
Well, it was after they kind of confessed their love for each other or something, wasn't it?
And he went.
And he just
and then
disappeared
she's
off
like, "Look,
down the drain pipe.
We can't be together because it's too complicated." And he says, "Look, I'm really sorry. I didn't mean you. It's what I said about you being a liability, but I don't want you to go to this protest." And she's like, "Well, I'm going anyway."
Toya's a bit of a flip-flopper this week, isn't she? She's like, "I can't be with you." "Oh, no, I can be with you. I can't be with
emotions.
you." "Drop your jaws, mister."
She's feeling emotions, Michael.
Yes.
Toya, Nina and Asha are making banners in the cafe. Where else would they go? Leanne comes in and says, "I'm coming to the protest." To be annoying.
She just wants to keep her eye on her
She
dear
wants
sis.
to stand there with her arms crossed, looking very annoyed at everyone. That must have been great fun for her to film. Staring in, what's the word?
Disgust.
Well, she's basically part of the protest if she's standing there. Don't think she realises that. Carla's been summoned to the cafe by Nina, and they're saying, "Oh, we don't want to cause any trouble. We want to do a peaceful protest." And then she says to Carla, "Have you really looked into Adele Dazeem's business practices?" And Carla says, "Look, oh fine, I will then." So,
have you seen that Adele Dazeem is going to be in that new Little Mermaid live remake? Because she is.
What's she going to be?
I don't know, but she's in it. What do you think about that, eh? I don't like these live action Disney remakes.
I hate all the live action Disney remakes, but I have seen on Twitter all these little girls, all these little black girls and teenagers and women watching the trailer and just crying about how happy they are. So I think it's really beautiful.
That's nice.
I think that's the nicest thing I've seen all week.
But the cartoon's going to be better, isn't it?
I know, but they just say that. How could you be mad at people who are so happy about something?
Okay, carry on.
It's such an innocent thing. It's such a beautiful, innocent thing to like be happy about. Just let them be happy about it. What's wrong with people? Let them have their mermaid.
Yeah, we'll have our cartoon mermaid. They can have their real life actual mermaid. So anyway,
this is that I don't want to get into live action Little Mermaid.
No, fine. So this short episode.
I support it.
Good.
Michael doesn't care, as usual.
Nina's trying to make Carla back down, basically, before the protest gets going, doesn't she?
Well, there's a decent turnout at the protest, and then Aaron and Tyrone watch on, and they're a bit bemused, and then Leanne's there with her arms folded, as we all knew that she would be, and it becomes...
Nadeem.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's up?
I just need to write something down.
So Nadeem comes up in his car. What are you writing? I'm really interested. Nadeem rolls up in his car, and the protesters are like, "Come on through! Don't let us stop you." He gets out.
They're not very good at.
They're not very good.
Okay, right.
They didn't exactly glue themselves to the cobbles, did they?
Now I've got all the knowledge in the world about the filming practices of Coronation Street because I saw them film about 3 scenes. So I know everything there is to know. You cannot beat me on knowledge. And I can therefore also extrapolate and speculate and be completely 100% right about everything I see in the future, even though I haven't seen that bit of film.
Yes.
Okay, that disclaimer out of the way. I can totally understand now why some of these scenes, when you really look at the people in the background, look really, I'm going to say it, a bit lame. Because they're just standing there and they look to me, you know, like when you're watching a cartoon and the people in the background are animated with like 3 different things and they're just pumping their arms up and down going, "We don't like this."
They did. There were a couple of frames, these protesters, weren't they?
Yeah, they literally weren't animated all the way through. It's because they've
10
got to
FPS.
film it from all these different angles and all these different scenes and retaking the same bit again and again. They can't really be elaborate with it because they'll forget what they did.
Yeah. I didn't think it was too bad a protest, to be honest. I was thinking that there would be about 3 people turning up.
There were lots of people there, but just as long as you don't actually look at the people in the background who were just like, "Down with this, down with this."
They should have got those Coronation Street cardboard cutouts that you can get, you know, like that Gail Platt one that they had for auction the other week.
Everybody's standing there with Tony
Gordon masks
on.
on.
That would have scared her. Anyway, Adele Dazeem comes out of the car glares at everybody. He's like a proper villain.
Yeah.
He needed a cloak to kind of roar and like sweep off into the factory.
Cloak made of knicker fabric.
You have like a nice lace trim and gusset down the back. Carla tells him she's pulling out of the deal and he's incensed. He calls her spineless, and then he walks off and he makes a phone call to the police to complain about the disturbance outside. Spider...
Disturbance in the force.
Spider, I can't really remember what Toya was doing.
She was just kind of standing there looking a bit like
Leanne
a bit
was
awkward.
doing, like both just standing there.
I can't remember that she had a placard or not. No, she didn't have her arms crossed. She was like, I think she was trying to get into it, but also realising that this is getting a little bit...
I think I'd be a bit awkward in a protest.
Yeah.
I've been on marches, but I've not been on a protest.
Toya has, she's a pro at the old protest circuit, isn't she?
I think protests a bit too confrontational for me.
Yeah. I think
it's much better to go online and tweet about it. Right, so Spider tells Toya he's got a bad feeling about this and she should head off, and she won't. And then the police turn up and it's Officer Craigie and he's like, stop protesting. I'm going to start arresting you if you don't go. And Carla comes out and says, look, I'm sorting it out, don't worry about it. Everyone calm down. And I think she tries to tell them that she's not actually going to go ahead with this deal. And then somebody throws a milkshake at her feet.
Hold my milkshake.
What a waste of a milkshake.
If there was a strawberry one, it's alright, nobody's mourning that.
Oh, really?
If it's like salted caramel or something, then I'll be licking Carla's feet.
That's disgusting. Griff...
Yeah, she gets a milkshake at her feet. Griff
throws a bottle at Craig's head, which I think is rude.
Donk.
Gets taken away, and Toya's looking a bit nervous. And then Spider...
So, I think, because Toya didn't see Griff chuck the bottle, did she? No, I don't think I wrote any notes about this.
Well,
but as the week goes on, she's like, he didn't throw the bottle, and Leanne's like, he really, really did. Toya takes a bit of convincing that he's a Ronan.
Also, don't they go up to Toya and start saying that she did it? And then Spider heads them off by like going up to the police officer and going, gives them a shove.
Yes. Clue number 1 this week, that he was trying to get himself purposefully arrested. He just gives this little, very obvious mini prod,
doesn't he? What do you mean clue number 1, he was trying to get himself arrested?
Well, no, I mean that he was, that he was working with the police. Clearly,
No, that's not clue number 1, he was working with the police. Clue number 1, he was working with the police, was when he came back round the corner going, it's alright, they just let me go.
No, yeah, but this is clue this... Okay.
That was not a clue.
I just think that when he went up to the police officer and was like he was like shove, and they was like, oh no, don't arrest me. Thanks, mate. No, he didn't actually say that.
It wasn't like that, Michael.
That's how I remembered it.
Well, you're remembering it wrong.
Okay.
There was no clue there. There was no clue.
Okay, fine.
You're supposed to think he's just trying to stop Toya from being arrested. That's what you were supposed to think.
Maybe it was because I knew what his secret was.
It might be.
Maybe. Right,
later on, the protesters died down because everyone's a bit bored. And Carla's tending to Craigie's boo-boo.
Because Beth doesn't turn up. Somebody mentions, like, go and get Beth, and Carla's like, no, she's sewing or something. But literally, throughout the whole of this, I was expecting at some point for Beth to come calling out,
I actually really would have loved to have seen Beth go off on everybody and, come whirlwinding out of the factory going, oh, Craigie, I knew that this would be bad. Oh, I can't believe you've been hurt.
Ma'am, not when I'm at work.
Oh, you need some workers' comp for this. You can't go to work tomorrow. You've been injured.
You've been ninjured. I've been bistro ninjured.
Toya drops over and says none of this would have happened if Carla hadn't called the police. And Carla said, I didn't call the police. And then Toya goes to the bistro and Leanne follows her because she remembers that she works there and she doesn't get paid to stand around protesting. Toya...
She didn't get paid to stand around not protesting.
Well, she was protesting because she was standing in a protest.
Okay.
So what? So she should have been there with a sign that says, I'm not with them.
Yeah. I'm not with them, I'm just looking after my sister.
I'm a conscientious objector.
Yes.
I'm what are they called when you go to a war zone and they watch what's happening? I don't know, there's a special sort of person that goes and just checks that you're not doing anything. You're allowed to kill each other, but that's it.
No fighting.
Okay, so in the bistro, Toya tells Leanne that Spider's a hypocrite because he didn't even want her to take part, and then he's the one that goes and does violence and gets himself arrested. And Leanne says it's because I asked him to do something and he was protecting you.
Okay.
Then Spider's like, hello, they let me out. They just said, don't do it again. And I was like, well, I can't promise anything. And they said, well, what can we do?
God, a week ago and you still remember it word for word.
I know.
This is good.
I know, it's like the writers in the room. He meets Toya in Victoria Gardens and he says he'll always have her back. In the flat, Toya tells Spider that she loves him too. They can have a secret romance. And he's like, oh, sorry, I don't know how to say this, but I've already got a wife. I'm married. And she's like, oh, no, this is a trigger. I specifically didn't want you to lie to me about things. You remember why I killed my first husband? Because he lied to me. And then she chucks him out. And he's like, oh dear. Do you like my Spider impression?
Yeah,
I think I'm pretty good.
It got quite nicely.
On Wednesday, Toya and Griff are in Victoria Gardens and they're slagging Spider right off. Then he turns up and he offers to buy him a coffee and she's like, no. And also, Griff is there and he says he didn't know that Spider was married. Yes. Now, I just want to say that we both knew that Spider was secretly a policeman.
Yes. We did find that out.
So when he said he was married, I thought he was lying.
So did I. Like, I spent the whole of the week since Wednesday thinking, that's not his secret. He's not really married.
He's not married.
Married to the force, maybe.
He's like, I'm married to the job. Yeah, I thought he was lying. So when Griff said, I didn't know that Spider was married, I was like, yeah, of course you didn't, because he's not.
Yeah.
But it looks like he is.
We haven't, I'm guessing so. We haven't seen her. Haven't seen the wedding snap.
The guys are in the cafe, and Spider's miffed when Griff says he's going to have a drink with Toya later, and Peter's interested, and Griff starts talking about big pharma companies or something, I don't really know. And then they start talking about conspiracies, which I love.
Yeah, and that kind of winds into a scene between Nina and Asher a little bit later as well, doesn't it? With all the talking about... It was a nice little scene. It was very, inconsequential, but they're just having a joke about, there's something in your COVID vaccine.
No, wasn't it something to do with the New World Order or something?
Yes,
I love all that stuff.
I don't
like pharmaceutical and COVID conspiracy. I think they're all terrible. But I do like, who killed JFK.
It was a fun little scene. It did feel a little bit cut for Canada, but I don't know. Maybe that's the next big story. It kind of does tie into Peter and his Mr. Thorne story, doesn't it?
Where's he given up about that, hasn't he?
I can't remember where we're up to on this.
You think Peter would join in all these protests, going, protests against rich people. Is that what we're doing? Because it is, isn't it? Really?
Yeah, basically.
Peter should be mad at Adele Dazeem for encompassing everything he hates about Mr. Thorne. Rich guy, push people around, victimises the poor.
Yeah, but he can't protest against his wife's boss.
His
wife's, not boss, potential
He can,
supplier.
as long as she don't find out.
But she has found out. She's a bit miffed with him later
You're
in the
right.
week, isn't she? It's all coming back. It's been almost a week since we've watched this.
Very stupid, Gemma.
Continue. They go to the pub.
Peter and Griff go to the pub, and Peter thinks Griff is a decent bloke. And then Toya gets a text from Spider saying he's sorry. She puts her phone in her bag. Griff and Peter start going on about the man, and Toya goes and gets some air. Carla tells Peter that she doesn't want him to hang around with these guys, and he says, you can't tell me who I have a drink with, and leaves. Carla sees Leanne later and tells her to warn Toya off that Griff. And Leanne's surprised to hear that Toya is getting close to him, and if he's capable of assaulting a police officer, what else could he do? What else could he do?
Assault the Queen.
Can't do that anymore. In the flat later, Leanne tells Toya that she shouldn't really be hanging around with Griff, and Toya says, shut up about that. Guess what? Spider's only married. He's been keeping secrets all this time. I don't need that kind of thing right now, and I also don't need your advice, Leanne, actually. Just shove it. I'm going for a walk. Ooh, rock and roll. Friday.
Love you really, Toya.
Friday/Monday.
Yes, I have written Friday in the notes. It is
we'll
Monday,
rewrite history, and maybe we can go back to Wednesday and everything will be fine again. Toya's hurrying off in the morning to see Griff, and Leanne's not impressed. Leanne is just so sour all the way through, like, think you're doing the wrong thing here.
She's just trying to protect her. I can see where she's coming from.
Leanne reminds her about the trial, and Toya's like, don't talk to me about it. I don't even know if they're going to show it next week. Leanne sees Spider in the street and has a go at him for leading her Toya on despite being married, and she tells him about Griff, and Spider says, I'll try and keep him away from Toya. So Peter and Toya get talking in the street, and he says, you can talk to me whenever you want. She's really sad because everything's going wrong. She doesn't know who she can trust. She's got the trial coming up. Leanne's trying to go at her. So she's feeling very overwhelmed. And then he gives her a hug. And then who comes up? But
Sarah Habib.
Sarah Habib jumps
in a
out of the
giant
car going, I'm come to see my grandson, the one you robbed of a father, you hussy. And she starts accusing Toya of being with Peter. And Toya's like, no, that's an old storyline. Did you not watch it then? I was the landlady. Did you know that?
Sarah would never believe that.
No, Sarah starts having to go at her and accusing her of all this and that. And Toya says, I wish I was dead, not Imran. And then Sarah says, yeah, I agree. What a bitch. Griff comes along and sends her on her way. And they go to the pub. And for some reason, Gemma's there. I don't know why
It wasn't the pub, it was the cafe.
They go to the cafe and Gemma comes up.
I didn't get why Gemma was needed
Bernie,
in that scene whatsoever.
For some reason, Bernie and Gemma involved themselves a little bit by sympathising. Although it was really nice that Gemma was sympathetic to Toya, because I don't know how many people on the street actually like her at the moment.
I don't think anybody does.
Well, Gemma's nice to her.
Yeah.
She wasn't very helpful.
No.
But she was nice. And then Spider comes in and Toya's all on edge and he says...
She basically says, it's a free country, you can come in and sit with me if you want to.
Griff's like, do you know what we should do? We should let the air out of Sarah's tyres. And I was like, oh, this guy.
What a rebel.
I like this guy. He's like me, but he actually does the evil stuff he's
so
suggesting.
Evil.
Oh, he is evil.
What a deflator.
It's going to be very inconvenient for her.
Mm-hmm.
And Spider's like, yeah, we always do that. It's really funny. And so I was like, what? Just letting air out of people's tyres? And it seems like Spider and Griff are like the suitably large car police. And if your car is too big, they'll let the air... what was it Griff was saying? Yeah, we take the air out tyres and we leave a note on their windscreen to let them know what's happened. What does it say?
So considerate.
Dear horrible car owner, I've got a car that's way too big for you. And so we let the air out the tyres.
Why do you even need a big car? Your husband and daughter and son are dead. So who's driving in it with you?
Also, we have got very good public transportation links. Please see the website weatherfieldtransport.gov.uk.
Yeah, but Griff's all about the tram system, isn't he?
He probably loves it. Right, so yeah, this is their grand plan, isn't it? To inconvenience a grieving mother who's visiting her only living relative. Why don't people like these protesters? I'm not sure. So, Spider warns Toya not to involve herself, and she's like, "You don't get to tell me what to do. I'm in." And then Griff's like, "Well, we need another person because
this is low-level meddling. I can do that," says Toya.
Griff says we need another person because there's 4 tyres on a car and there's only 3 of us.
Yeah.
Nina,
oh yeah, I bet she'd love it.
She could do it, wouldn't she?
Yeah.
Right, so Griff is later in the Ginnel with some petrol, telling Spider that he wants to set the car on fire and he hopes Toya will be up for it. And Spider's like, I'll go and ask. Hello, would you like to do some arson?
Do you remember that scene a couple of years ago when Abby blew up the guys and everybody loved that? Do you want to walk away from an exploding car?
Yeah, do you want to walk away from a fire?
Your popularity would rocket, Toya, because I don't think you're in the A tier of Coronation Street characters, just saying at the moment.
Yeah, pretty unpopular, unfortunately. But I'm gonna champion her until the day I die or she dies. Don't know.
She is a soap character, so
it could be
more
any
likely
moment.
to be her.
It's trying to blow up a car seems quite dangerous. Spider goes to see Toya in the flat, and he says, Griff is dangerous, don't get involved. And she doesn't believe him when he says that Griff is going to torch the car. And she tries to leave, and he stops her. And he says, I love you, my marriage is over, please let me explain. And he says, at one point he says something like, I have a marriage, but I don't have a wife, or something like that.
Yes.
Which I thought was a bit rude. So he tries to explain, her name is Leela.
Layla. I didn't know how to spell it.
Layla.
Yes.
They've not spoken in a long time. And they were volunteering in South America. Mm-hmm. And they hit it off straight away. They got married 3 months later. Then he mentioned something which I think might be important later. They say, he says they went to one protest and it was really awful and it turned her off of protesting. And, you know...
And he said on him too, really.
Bless Toya, she's not a gossip like I am. I'll be like, what happened? Tell me more, tell me all the secrets. What do you mean? What happened?
What goes on in a South American protest?
What could be that bad that you both decide, or she decides she wants to live in the suburbs. So she decides she wants to. Yeah, I think that there was an evil turtle murderer.
Yes.
Okay, and they were like, oh, protect the turtles, and then somebody like hits him or like stabs him. That's not the only way to protect turtles. And then he like sadly crawls away, leaving a trail of blood, and they're like, let's follow and finish off the evil turtle murderer. And then he crawls all the way to an orphanage where he's the only man that works there, and all the orphans are starving to death, and he's been killing turtles to feed them.
I hope we get to see a flashback of this.
And then they realise that they're the evil ones because he was just doing the best he could. And if they had only helped him and listened to his story, then he could have explained that he was only murdering turtles for orphans.
It could be that.
And I
guess
reckon
we'll find out.
They could definitely film this down the little canal bit. Down the side of the studios, because it's good water, isn't it?
Yeah,
you could get a little plastic turtle.
You could pretend that was South America.
This is the beaches of South America.
So anyway, they saw something.
Anyway, something bad happened, and they don't want to protest anymore.
No.
Maybe it was a dirty protest.
Oh yeah, maybe.
She wants to settle down. She just turned her right off, get a proper job, but it wasn't right for him. And then he says, I never felt about her the way I feel about you. Oh. And he also says something else that you haven't written down.
What?
Didn't he say it was only ever you?
Oh yeah, he did say that. It's only ever you, Toya.
Yeah. Toya is determined to go after Sarah's car. And then Spider tells her that she's lost just as much as Toya has, maybe even more. And he's like, Don't
take yourself down with her, or something.
Michael's cryptic note makes no sense.
I don't know.
Toya says, I don't care what happens to me. I'm fed up with being the good girl. And doesn't she show us that? Also, she says, I do love you, but I can't get in a relationship with you. And he goes to leave, and then she stops him. And then she says, I can't be the other woman.
I don't want to be like that trollop Abby.
Yeah. Is it definitely over?
Yeah, definitely finished
with your wife. And he's like, yeah, definitely. And then they shag each other.
Well, they just kiss first.
Well, yeah, and then one thing leads to another, and the next thing you know, she's wearing a kimono.
And we know what that means.
Ben Carlo. So, they're
out on the balcony, flaunting her bits, airing them out afterwards.
Protesting each other very intimately. And who should be watching but Sarah, who's just climbed out of her giant earth-killing SUV, or whatever it is. I don't really know what an SUV is, I have to admit that.
I don't know.
People talk to me about them quite a lot. I just think, it's just a giant car, isn't it? Is that just not what it means?
Yeah.
So, I'm surprised to see her with her car not on fire, because I think Griff is all talk and no action.
I know.
I think that he should set fire to the car with Sarah in it. Just a suggestion. Later on, Toya finds Griff in the pub, and he's like, where's Spider? And she's like, I don't know. But she doesn't want to sabotage Sarah's tyres now. Sarah goes to the police station and she's like, I've got information that you should know. Guess what? My ex-daughter-in-law is a right slapper. And I saw her and Spider canoodling. And the police is like...
Spider, eh?
Spider what? And then the police officer's saying, well, there's no crime about having a kiss. And then Sarah says, well, she must have been having this affair and... before, because how could she move on so quickly? Because she hasn't seen old Coronation Street.
Yes,
so she doesn't know that there's a backstory.
It seemed like, pretty petty.
Yeah, but I'd be like this.
And
I would.
I suppose if you really wanted to get somebody sent down, you'd be clutching at straws, and this is totally clutching at straws here.
No, if you're convinced your son was murdered...
Plastic straws, probably, because she's evil.
Yeah, she's evil. She doesn't care about turtles. No. Just like that man in South America. It's very much like Manchester canals. So the police officer's like, okay, right, I'll write it all down. And Sarah says, this is when she says, I don't know his name, but they call him Spider. And she's like, Toya's all cheery in the bistro of the elevator, full of the joys of spring. She says she's done with Griff, but Spider's different and I trust him.
I completely trust him. He's got no secrets from me.
Cut to Spider in Villain's Alley. Leaning against a wall, looking like he's about to do a drug deal, but no. The police lady from earlier...
Swain.
...comes up to him and says, "Hello, DC Nugent." And he's like, "Shut up, don't call me that around here." And then she says, "You've been playing a dangerous game, sleeping with someone who's on a murder charge." And he says, "Oh, that's nothing to do with my case. I could do what I like." And she says, "I'll tell your handler, unless you help me get dirt on her, I want you to find out how she killed her husband." I think it's obvious how she killed her husband. And then she says to him, "If you let a murderer walk free, your case and your career are both dead. Is she worth it?"
Ooh.
And then he has to look like, "I don't know."
Pained. Is he gonna rat her out? I hope he doesn't.
Well, this isn't gonna go well, is it?
I don't even know whether Toya even knows. I just don't know what's going on with this. Like, the trial is literally this week coming up. And it doesn't feel still. We've been talking about this over the last few days, haven't we? That there's a whole lot of a build-up to it. I know lots of people have been, well, mostly Spider and Leanne have been saying, your trial's coming up, your trial's coming up. And I know that Toya's been getting herself into all this kind of mischief as a way of avoiding thinking about the trial. But it doesn't really feel like, a big Corrie trial build-up, does it? And like this time last year, we were having Nina going off and having her flashbacks and everything and remembering exactly what happened. And you know, back in May, I thought, oh, we're going to have a flashback to find out what happened in the car and, you know, what happened to cause Toya to crash the car and everything. And I'm like, I've got no idea. Did she literally just crash the car with him in? But then where's the mystery and the drama there? If she knew what she was doing, whether she crashed the car because she, you know, temporarily took leave of her senses, or whether she crashed the car because she just got really mad for a second, you need to throw the book at her. I don't know how she's going to escape this, really.
I know, we've built up this kind of elaborate story in which
one of them was drugged, or
there was
Imran had his heart attack minutes before, or there was
some kind of, like, didn't we say there was somebody in the car and then they ran him, they ran him off the road.
Yeah.
Because the whole point of this is that she doesn't remember what happened. So she can't be a witness to what happened because she doesn't remember. She's also not reliable because she would lie. Why doesn't she just say, "I remember, I didn't do it"? Anyway,
and then like
So we've been sort of going, oh, because she's got this missing memory, there must be more to it, I'm starting to think there isn't more to it.
So am I. And, you know, and Charlie and Georgia, bless them, they wouldn't tell us if there was more.
No.
But back in May, I was thinking, oh, we haven't seen the last of Imran, he's going to be in flashbacks. They did the old flashback last year, and I'm thinking, I don't know whether they would. They absolutely wouldn't tell us.
We don't really talk about things like that.
Well, they know that we don't want to know. But... Yeah. I'd really like there to be, but I don't know how we can end the week with the judge saying, "Oh yeah, you didn't mean to, so..."
But they can't prove she didn't.
No.
They can't prove anything because it's about what she thought in her head. You remember when you were on the jury, one of your things that you had to decide was whether a man intended to do something that he did for a malicious reason or not. And it's like, well, I don't bloody know. What's the, I guess you can say, oh, the evidence here is that, oh, she had this voice message or they were having an argument or whatever, but...
I just really like Toya to come out of this triumphant, but I don't know how she can.
No, I know.
And, oh, God, it's becoming more and more difficult to be a Toya supporter at the moment because this whole thing isn't a good look for her, is it? Even like on the trial, on the protest, and she's coming across as a bit of a nuisance, and where she's... she's saying, "Oh, I'm gonna protest against the down the Zine." She's just coming across. She's just been a bit high and mighty. She's being very highly strung. She's being snappy with everybody. She's just. It's really sad that she's not coming across particularly likable. And we're seeing all these people online as well saying, "Bloody Toya, throw the book at her," which is sad. It just feels like they've really done a number on her, doesn't it?
Well, this is what happened with Leanne with Ollie, and we were like really defending Leanne and saying. People are, I think I've said it before, it's important for soaps to not make everybody into saints. Saints and sinners, it's a bit boring. We want a bit of grey, and it's very interesting because Toya is a bit of a grey character at the moment, but unfortunately a lot of people don't like nuance, it seems, or they kind of love to persecute women specifically for, not being likeable. when they're in extreme throes of grief and tragedy, which I think is very understandable. I think one of the main things that where this is lacking momentum and urgency and intrigue is that Imran's been completely forgotten, really. I mean, Toya says every now and then, I wish it was me that had died and stuff, but I just think that if they had focused a bit more on Imran, it might give it a bit more of a, of a heart. It just feels like she's just mad that people are taking her to court, but she's...
And it's also, it is, I mean, like Sarah was saying, she's moved on super quick, hasn't she?
I think the writing's throwing the character under the bus, myself.
It feels like it is. If all the trial stuff had happened really quickly, and I know trials don't just organise themselves in 5 minutes, but the momentum's gone. She has been copping off with Spider left, right and centre.
But she needs love, you know.
I know.
And it's not just any person. It's very, very significant. This is Spider.
It's hugely significant. And honestly, if this was anybody else, this is literally any other character, I'd be a lot more harsh on her. But in the back of my mind, I'm going, oh yes, Spider, he is right. He is right for Toya, isn't he?
You're like,
and that's the tragic thing. And I feel like I'm totally betraying Imran's memory.
I know.
So I'm just as bad as her, really.
Yeah.
But I think, I really want Spider and Toya to stay together. I was a little bit sick of the back and forth. I hate Spider 1 minute and now I love him the next minute, which just seemed to what was going on this week. But when he's saying, it was only ever you, I was like,
when he said that, I thought that was
because they were clearly meant from each other, weren't they? You know, looking back 20, 25 years or whatever, they were perfect. And she pined for him for a couple of years because he wasn't interested, because she was so much younger than him for a few years.
Well, we were talking about this in the car. We were coming back from Nottingham, I think, and I said to you that Spider could be a massively important character to help redeem Toya in the minds of people, because she can be a bit, this might surprise people, but she can be a bit sanctimonious.
What?
Just a bit like Leanne, a bit like Maria. But because and also the other thing is, people aren't really keen on protesters at the moment. Environmental protesters specifically, because of how the media reports on them and sort of the impact that they have on normal everyday people trying to, take their dad to a blooming cancer appointment at the hospital, or like getting in the way of people trying to take their kids to school and stuff, and super gluing themselves to works of art, etc, etc. But because Spider is he's the undercover policeman, and we're really making a big assumption here that he is investigating Griff, and he is there to kind of see these agitators and these people that push the protest into violence. Yeah, well, that's because Swain, wasn't it? At the end, she was when she was talking to him in the alley, and he said, "Well, Toya's got nothing to do with my case." Yeah, so it's obvious he's not doing.
Yeah,
he's not. What?
Sorry, Gemma's got a funny phone lock screen at the moment.
Okay, yeah.
I just saw a few weeks ago when we heard that Spider was going to be an undercover cop, when somebody told us at Coronation Street, I thought, is he kind of trying to get the dirt? Is
he a spy on Toya?
Yeah, is he spying on Toya? Is he trying to get the dirt on her? So I'm really glad to hear that he's not, because I've been a bit unsure, like, should we trust him or not? But now I'm thinking, oh yeah, we should trust him.
But now
maybe he should. Yeah, I mean, maybe he probably should tell Toya at some point. But maybe, I don't know how much you can or can't.
I don't think you're allowed
when you're an undercover policeman. That's the problem with it. But I forgot what I was saying.
I don't know, because you also interrupted me when I was in the middle.
Sorry, what were you saying?
Well, I was trying to say that Spider, coming at the angle of still completely believing in what they're protesting for, he's still an environmentalist, he's still true to his core values, but he also is trying to prevent the nastier side of the protesters.
Oh yeah, that's right. That was because obviously what he's here for is nothing to do with Toya, so it's something else, and he's been doing an awful lot with the protesting. I think you're right. Although when Griff turned up, Spider wasn't particularly pleased to see him, was he? I seem to remember.
No, but that might have just been misdirection. But it also might be like, oh no, I didn't know that he was like... He also might have been like, oh, this is great because I'm just fanning around here with Toya. And then he was like, oh, yeah, I've got a job.
The fact that they've decided over this week that Griff is a bit of an extreme protester because, he throws bottles at Officer Craigie and he threatens to blow up cars. Yeah. I think they're kind of positioning him as a bit of a radical and he's going to be building up to doing something massive. He's going to do
something really bad.
Yeah, and then Spider's going to dob him in, basically. And then that's the end of that. And maybe that's when Toya finds out the truth about him.
But, right, so that's what I'm saying about her character. Like, I think that he could, if they get into a relationship, because I think he's quite a likeable character.
I think that Spider's a likeable character, and I'm pretty sure that back in the day, back in the 90s, he was really popular. I'm not sure.
I don't think he's as popular now because of being with Toya.
Yeah, I know, and like you said about environmentalists and protesters not being.
No, but that's what I'm saying to you.
Yeah.
Because he's against those particular sorts of protesters, that's how you ingratiate the character to the general public. He feels a bit fed up with.
I just think he's really charming, and I think that if with all the drama, once it's all over and done with, I think that him and Toya do have a really great chemistry. They're a lovely match, but I don't know. I'm still not really sure whether people could take to them unless like you're a mega.
Whatever.
Toya and Spider.
I
don't know. I'd like to think that he can he can improve people's opinions of her.
The other thing is, is there a long-term shot for that Spider could stay in the show? Is he a long-term character? Because
I don't know.
If he's an undercover cop who his main goal is to take down protesters, he can't stay in the show doing that. Because he's going to have to be portable. He's going to have to go where they go.
Well, yeah, and he's clearly not based in Weatherfield because Craig doesn't know about Spider, does he? No. Swain, for some reason, knows about him, but Craig's got no idea that Spider's a cop. So he's obviously doing it super, super secret. So yeah, he's going to be moving around like the littlest hobo, isn't he?
But I guess what's going to happen is he's going to have to blow his cover to save Toya from being blown up by Griff. And then he's going to be useless, really, as a undercover protest.
Or is Toya going to be drawn into the murky world of extreme protesting, and Spider will have to say no.
Is that like extreme ironing?
Yeah.
Do you remember extreme ironing?
Yeah, I do.
And then planking.
But
those were simpler times, weren't they?
I mean, the whole thing about Spider is the very fact that he's now working for the establishment is so anti what Spider stands for.
Are you joking? He used to work for the council.
Well, no, he worked for the unemployment office, didn't he? But he didn't want to, and he ended up standing on the tables and saying, "Oh no, I'm not. I can't work for the man. No way."
I think you're right. I think.
But when go on. Well, when he did sign up for that, he
sign up for what?
When he was working for the benefits office, one of his fellow protesters was also there as a boss, and he kind of convinced Spider, "Look, we're in here to take it down from the inside." So I'm thinking maybe that's the reason why Spider's done this. That he's
it's like you're not listening to
doing
anything
it as a force
I've said.
for good.
We had conversations about this.
Okay.
Because I just literally said. He is legitimising the protest movement by removing the agitators and the violent people that break laws and undermine the message. When people protest, one thing the media like to do is to focus on the negative side of the impact of the protest, not the message the protesters are trying to give. So if Spider can root out all these people that are causing disruption and making people lose focus on what the point of the protest is, then people might actually listen to what they're saying instead of just going, "Oh, I don't like it when they glue themselves to Whistler's mother."
But do you think he does other crimes as well? They say, right, DC Nugent, we've got a drugs case for you to do today. No way.
Well, this is the question, isn't it? And how long has he been doing this? And I think anyone who's involved in undercover policing will say about 10 different things that he's done that's wrong, and is it entrapment and yada yada yada, whatever. Because he was the one that was leading a bunch of people to break into the brewery. That was his idea.
Yeah, it was actually, wasn't it? It did very much seem like he was going to do that.
So maybe that's the other thing, is that he's being a bit of a, playing both sides a little bit and sort of getting away with stuff because he knows that.
Yeah, I got a feeling that
Who
he's
knows
not
what?
going to be a policeman by the time this story is out.
No, but he'll always hate plastic straws.
Yes.
Anyway, Toya obviously is
gonna-
going to lose her mind when she finds out he's lied to her, and then we'll have the template scene of, I specifically told you we would have no more secrets. I thought you told me everything, but you still had one big secret up your sleeve.
Yeah, then
I
she'll
couldn't
throw him
tell
out,
you.
and then next episode they'll be back bonking again.
It'll be like, Toya, I'm really sorry. Hang on a minute. I'm getting a phone call from Auntie M. She wants to talk to you. Toya, get back together with Spider. You're meant for each other. There you go, see? We're meant for each other. Auntie M said so.
I hope so.
Also, I also said to you, remember?
What?
It'd be good if they kept Spider in long enough
Mm.
to announce, what's happened to
Emily.
But we also had a discussion about
Eileen
Eileen
Derbyshire.
Derbyshire and what her agreement is with the show and whether she wants the character to die
Yeah.
before she does, or if she wants...
Well, she doesn't like
doesn't like publicity,
does
so
she?
I think that the agreement is that she...
Mhm.
When she passes away, then they can kill off Emily.
Yeah.
Because I don't think she wants to talk to anybody about it, and that's fair play to her. I think she should be
I
left
think you're
alone.
right.
She doesn't want to...
Do you think
Yeah.
we're going to meet Layla?
Yes.
Is Mrs. Spider
I
going to be
think
coming round?
she's also Gabrielle.
What? No, she's
yeah.
not.
Yeah, they're the same woman.
I'm very interested to delve more into Spider's backstory because, like you said, when he started talking about her today, I'd already kind of decided in my mind that he's not actually married at all. So that was kind of interesting.
So my idea here, this is what I'm thinking, is that they've thrown in the Spider is married thing so they can have this backstory that explains why Spider turned into an undercover cop, and it's going to be something to do with that protesting went too far, and I vowed that I would never allow that to happen again because I want everybody to focus on the planet and not murdering turtle orphans. And so they just threw the married thing in as part of the backstory, and they don't really have any plans. But if Spider's character stays in the show for long enough, there will be a Spider's shocking secret revealed, or like Spider's blast from past or whatever in the papers, and then maybe a year from now they'll get the wife in.
Yeah.
I think it's sort of like what they've done with Dee Dee, where they've obviously not had any plans at all for that character. She was just written in as part of the story, and then they've just gone, oh, I won't worry about that.
She got a mention tonight, didn't she?
She got a shout
Tell
out.
her about James's operation.
So I just think that they put these things in, and we think that they've got a big plan, because I think sometimes it's beneficial for them to leave it very loose with the details, because then they can fill it in to whatever they like.
They want to later.
She could be South American, she could be from Wigan, she could be from France. They can anything. As long as they don't put down too much information, they can weave it into a story later.
Should they wish?
Yeah.
So just before we move on to the next story, then, what's going to happen at the trial? What do you say? What's their verdict going to be? Is she going to be guilty or not guilty? Is she going to be cutting up rocks with a pickaxe by the end of the week?
I just think she's not going to be guilty, but
I cannot put it. And again, we have got absolutely no idea.
idea.
We do know some of the things that are going to be happening later this year on Coronation Street from our little trip there, but we have literally got zero clue about what's happening with Toya, and I'm glad I don't know. But
because the other thing
I just can't see that she's going to get sent down, but then I can't see how she's not going to.
But
I don't know. I hope it isn't a letdown.
Don't forget also that a character being in prison does not stop them anymore from appearing in the show.
No, of course not, with the prison set and everything.
But the other thing is, so you're.
I think maybe if Toya goes to prison, Spider's an expert tunneler, isn't he? So he can tunnel her out like the Shawshank Redemption.
Brilliant. So what I was gonna say is, if Toya goes to prison, how long do you get for murdering your husband? Do you get less time because they're like...
I'm glad you don't know this. I'm glad you
Yeah,
haven't
I've
researched it beforehand.
But the judge was like, normally, if for murdering someone, it's like 10 years. But we give people 5 for husbands because we know what they're like. But how long is it going to be? It's going to be years and years and years, right? So listen, if then she goes to prison, the only way that the character's going to get out in any reasonable amount of time to make sense that she stays in the show is that it turns out that she was actually not guilty all along. The only way that can happen is if they find new evidence. They're not going to find new evidence because I don't think that the story is about that, and we made up this kind of elaborate thing in our minds that there might be CCTV footage from somewhere else or a witness or something. I just don't think they're that bothered about the story as we are. Which is annoying because I was super invested in it and I had all these great ideas for where I thought it could go.
I'm really curious. But it really
is just as simple as she drove into a brick wall and did she do it on purpose or not?
I'm really curious, and at least there's one good thing about the Coronation Street being delayed is we don't have to wait too long to find out.
Yeah.
Like, there's not, by the end of the week, we might know.
But yeah, so just so I'm saying, that's what I'm saying. And I've made predictions where I've said on... My idea based on the structure of storytelling and how I think that they can write this is so yada 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 and been completely wrong, but I just can't see how, if she gets found guilty, that the story could follow her.
No.
The way that they've put it together, but I could be wrong.
We'll see, won't we? I don't want another wrongful imprisonment storyline.
Really,
it barely seems 5 minutes since Yaz was in there.
But did she do it on purpose? Because we don't really know. I just assume, because I like her, I'm saying that she didn't. But
yeah. But we also like Imran.
You really like Imran, and I really like Toya, and I just...
Why did you leave, Charlie?
Want to do great play.
Oh yes, it was the joke.
I just wish that this was...
I hope. I know. I really do. I want to be satisfied with the way this goes, but I'm like,
I don't think I will.
I'm on the edge.
I think.
Let's move on. Because I was actually pleasantly surprised by the James story this week.
Me too!
Sadly, I did know that he was going to have a bit of an upsy daisy in the football match. Because if I hadn't seen that spoiler, my jaw would have been on the floor on Wednesday's episodes. But so let's see what happened with that. Now, my notes were all over the place at the beginning of last week, and I had Aggie and Tim's stuff separate from this, and it's all a massive mess. So what I've got first is what's going on with the football on Monday, because Jenny is organising a football match. It's them against the Flying Horse, wasn't it, this time?
Correct.
They're going to have an interpub tournament or something, and Jenny's in charge of it. And so they've got the team, which is, who's on it? Brian, Shona, Amy... Just whoever they could grab off the street, basically. And they all get together on Monday's episode to do a bit of tactics. And Brian's there giving them a history lesson about the 1969 Toss of the Coin match, which is an excellent Corrie throwback.
Yeah.
And like it when they did that. And Dev is saying, oh yeah, I remember we had that cricket match a couple of years against them too, because they've got a good history, a good bit of history, the Rovers versus the Flying Horse, haven't they? So it was nice to bring it back again.
I do like this rivalry.
It's cool. Anyway, everyone's arguing there about what position they're playing. Nobody seems to know what they're doing. James comes into the pub and Jenny's like, hooray, here's a professional footballer. Can you offer us some advice? And I was kind of surprised that it took them until Wednesday's episode to realise that it might be a good idea to actually ask James to come onto the team. And even at this point, Jenny's like, can you tell us how to play football? Can you give us anything? And James is like, well, what are your tactics? Like somebody or other says, I don't know, to win. Anyway, so they get the drinks in, and James says, look, Shona and Amy need to be played up front, and they're all having a lovely time getting ready. But Daisy notes that the players maybe aren't as into it as they might be. Perhaps we should have some kind of prize in this tournament. So also on Monday, we had all the Tim bits of the story, and I was like, I thought that the Timberton storyline was over, but apparently not, because they're in the cab office on Monday's episode, and then the sex therapist comes in from, a couple of months ago, and I'd completely forgotten who it was until they mentioned it, but Tim's there hiding behind the paper, and kind of then he gets chatting with Peter, and he eventually kind of starts to open up and says that he's impotent, and he has been since the heart up, and Peter's like, oh, me too, I'm in the impotence club as well, I've been an alcoholic since I've been back in the show in the last 20 years, and impotence is one of the problems that I have to go to as well. Go through, yeah, and he's just basically being a nice, sympathetic ear, really, and says, don't worry, Tim, I'm sure it's just a blip. He's like, you and Sally have been the envy of most couples on the street. I
like,
can just
here's a
imagine
secret.
Tim and Sally doing it with the window open and everyone
my
else is there on the
God.
street going, "What a man!"
That was the mayor.
Give her one from me, Tim. Yeah, that was the mayor. That was. They're doing Lucky Burglar again tonight. Tim doesn't really want to go into this, but Peter says, "I'm there for a chat if you need to." And Tim says, "Thanks for the chat, Peter. It was good to talk." So Wednesday. Jenny's got herself this trophy, hasn't she? The tiddliest tiny trophy that you've ever seen, but she thinks it's amazing. And I did think it was a bit odd. I enjoyed the football stuff, but I was thinking, would Jenny really think that tiny trophy? I get that it was the joke. I totally get it, but I don't think that Jenny, like that particular character, I don't think that she'd think it was amazing. I think she'd think it's a bit pathetic as well. But then Tim's also thinks that it's great. I don't know.
Well,
it looks like, go on.
It's like Plymouth Rock. It's not that impressive in real life.
Yeah.
It's more what it means.
It looked like a little, condolence prize you get at the middle school sports day or something, doesn't it? But it's enough for the Rovers, guys. Nina says to Jenny, "You know what? Maybe James could play in the football."
What?
James, meanwhile, is getting all the players warmed up and inspiring them with the news that Jenny's gone to get a trophy and everything. But oh no, tragedy strikes. Brian pulls a muscle in his leg. He's out, so they have to get somebody else in.
Didn't it?
Did it? You
I woke you up in the middle of the night. Do you not remember?
I woke you up in the middle of the night. I pulled my leg in the middle of the night. Are you confusing us? I definitely had cramp in the middle of the night the other day. I don't remember. The other day, but it was definitely me. I woke up in the middle of the night. My leg was cramping. I was like, Gemma, and I couldn't explain what was going on because I couldn't remember the word cramp. And you were like, "Have you got a cramp?" And I was like, yeah, that's it. You don't remember. That definitely happened. Anyway, Tim and Dev get to see this trophy and they think it's amazing. Shona and Amy aren't quite so impressed with it. And then Jenny comes in with their star replacement player for Brian. It's Chesney. Hooray! So she gives them this inspirational pep talk, and then Dev gives one of his own, and it's just laden with unintended erection innuendo, isn't it? He's like, "We can rise and we will be stiff competition and everything." And Tim is like, "Oh man, what are you saying to me?" He kind of thinks that they're all getting at him, and Peter's been blabbing about his impotency problems, and he scuttles off to go and see Aggie. Back in the pub then a man down again, so Jenny tells James, "Right, can you play in the match? So, off you go and do the Rovers proud." And then she kind of disappears off for the rest of the episode, doesn't she? She has a bit of a fainting fit.
She pretended.
She asked Leo to come with them to the football, and he's like, "Oh, I'm not really interested in football, actually. I prefer rugby." Come on, Leo, come on. And then so she does a bit of a wooziness to try and get him to pay attention to her. It felt to us like maybe Sally Ann Matthews just wasn't available for the football filming scenes. Maybe, I don't know.
It was a bit of a
notable absence. But anyway, let's just skirt right around that. So Tim's over with Aggie, and he tells her about this pep talk embarrassment thing, and she says, "Look, don't worry, it's not wrong to want help about this. Everybody needs help sometimes." And he says, "Well, I'm probably not going to go to the match now." And this is when she says, "I'm not really a football fan myself," which was quite fun. And he's like, "You're the bloody mother of James Bailey, well-known professional gay footballer James Bailey, and you're telling me you don't like football?" I thought that was quite fun. Anyway, the game starts, and it wasn't the best shot football match, was it? It was, I don't watch football ever, but I think it doesn't always look like this. Although it was supposed to be amateur footballers, wasn't it?
I don't get what you mean. There was one notable scene in which it looked hilarious, which is the one where James is kicking the ball and you can't see his feet. You can just see him jumping up and down like he's river dancing his way across the pitch.
That was
and
really,
they obviously
really bad.
did that because the actor is not a footballer, and if they put it on the screen, everyone would be like, "That's not how you do football."
Yeah.
So they were like, "Well, we're not going to see it then, and then you can't complain." But instead, we just made fun of that.
I was surprised that they managed to get, right towards near the end of the game, and they were still only like 2-1 with a professional footballer on the team. Was he just holding back to be noble?
No, what the hell is wrong with James? He's not that that great, is it? If he can't score goals against this lot, he shouldn't really need it. What's he passing to Amy for? Just take the ball and dribble it down and get it in the goal.
Yeah.
I would not take any prisoners whatsoever.
I know, totally.
If I was a professional footballer, I consider it a matter of pride to get as many goals as I could.
Yeah. Well, Amy
hang on
scored
a minute.
goal.
Maybe he's not a striker.
Maybe he's not.
Maybe he's more defence.
Yeah, I don't.
But he's not very good at that either, because the other team scored one.
Didn't Ches score a goal as well? And then they have that thing where Dev lifts his shirt over his head and Chesney bangs on his belly.
It was quite funny to see Chesney do something fun and interesting.
Yeah, it was. That was a bit out of character, wasn't it? Anyway, so then just right in the middle of it, James just collapses onto the floor.
You're not supposed to be so happy about this.
And it was very serious.
Well, we got told off on Twitter for making a joke.
Oh, forget
by
that.
a couple of stupid idiots that don't understand it's fictional. And also, I understand that the whole point of this story comes from the real life. Is it the Danish player who had a cardiac
Christian Eriksen.
Really, really shocking and awful. But he's fine as well, so shut up.
Yeah, he was back playing on the game again in 8 months.
People falling. I didn't even make a joke about him falling down. I made a joke about him river dancing. Well, I wouldn't make a joke about that. I actually found it incredibly.
I thought it was really well done.
It was brilliantly done. He did a magnificent job. I had my heart in my mouth. I was thinking, this is actually dark. This is really dark.
Because there wasn't any kind of warning or lead up or anything to it, was there? There was no I'm feeling faint. Oh, there's fun. The camera's going a bit blurry. Yeah, I've got echoey sound effects playing in my ears. He's just literally walking down and then, he's dead.
Straight down.
That's the best bit of acting that Nathan Graham's done on the programme.
It was shocking. It was sinister. It was alarming. And I've been worried about him all week.
Yeah.
And I don't even care about this character.
I know. We were saying in today's episode, weren't we? Like when Ronnie and Ed came to visit him at the end of today's episode, is James going to be dead?
We'll talk about it when we get to it.
So anyway, he's there, and he's got his eyes open on the ground as well. It's just, it was really I honestly thought it was really, really effective. It was really well done.
He did a great job.
And then, and Michael's there doing CPR on him, and he's proper dead looking, isn't he?
Also, I have to say, the other Baileys helped sell this completely, didn't they? Because you got Michael, and you're just thinking, watching this, going, this family here is maybe witnessing one of their family members dying, trying to save his life, knowing that Aggie's not there and she would be able to do something. Probably imagine how guilty they'd feel if they knew that they couldn't save him. Imagine how she'd feel if he died and she didn't go to see the match and she knows that she might have been able to do something.
Bet they wish they'd integrated with the other characters on the street a bit more now. They were just there on their own, weren't they? Shona was just holding back going, I don't know if I'm allowed to be what's your name again? Which one? Yeah, so Ed's there going, my son get the defibrillator or something. And it turns out they didn't have one, did they? And this is maybe where the story's going on a little bit as well, because in this country there's no legislation to say that a building, any building, needs to have a defibrillator. And I think in some countries around the world, everywhere's got to have one.
I remember when I went to France and I saw one on the wall.
Yeah, they just have them on the street, don't they, in France?
This? And also, when I was the editor of a drone magazine, I remember doing an article about I think it was a project that somebody did that hadn't been instigated. What's the word? Yeah, it was a project that somebody done, and it was a drone that had a defibrillator on it, and it flies to you and it drops the defibrillator down, and then it goes, apply the paddles. Shock, and it tells you what to do. So imagine if you're trying to save someone's life and there's this drone just there going, doing a brilliant job, fantastic. Anyway, I've got to fly, see you later.
Well, this defibrillator that the paramedics brought along had a speed dial button and everything. Like, you want a pizza? You get a bit knackered after doing this.
And it had a shock button, and it's like, I already pressed this one. That's why you fell down.
Press the shock button. Spider's an undercover cop. What? Anyway, the paramedics come, they get the defibrillator out on James, and hurrah, it works. So he's taken into an ambulance with Ed. He's still looking pretty rough, but then Michael, he runs back home, across the cobbles, stunt work again, and tells Aggie there. Asha was there. She was kind of listening on, and it seemed like that was going to be important, but it wasn't. So my note there is for nothing. But anyway, Aggie gets to the hospital, and Ed fills her in.
Ed's been trying to phone her, and she was with Tim.
She's been chatting with Tim all this time, hasn't she? And And we find out that James was dead for 5 minutes. They only took them 2 minutes to notice. They're running tests on him, and he says, "Oh, Michael, I'm so proud of you for helping save your brother's life." But he's really not impressed with Aggie for not answering her phone. Yeah, he was trying to phone her earlier, and she was there baking cakes with Tim or something, wasn't she? I thought he was kind of unnecessarily harsh on her. He was kind of the same harsh that you would be if you'd known you were baking cakes with your impotent neighbour. And like,
what do you mean?
Well, he's like, "Where were you? You didn't answer your phone." Sometimes you just can't answer your phone.
It's like I was on the toilet.
Well, yeah, exactly. Yeah, she could have had a really bad case of the you-know-whats on the toilet.
I had my sardine cakes and they weren't great.
They didn't agree with me, Ed. You know what it's like. But anyway, he's
Maybe
like,
she was being a nurse. Maybe she was defibrillating someone else.
Yeah.
Do you ever think of that, Buster?
It seems very much to be almost contrivedly written to push her into Tim's arms. And this affair, you know, it's, you know how when they have the general election, they have your swingometer. It's like, where's the Tim and Aggie affair looking at the moment? And it's definitely pointing its way the closest it's ever been on the old doomsday clock at the moment. Sorry to make some metaphors up, but
a little bit.
I really don't want them to.
I don't want them to either.
Tim and Sally have already had their
problems
this year, and will they split up and everything, and nobody wants Tim and Sally to split up. And actually, I don't want Aggie and Ed to split up. I think they're a really nice couple.
We said for a long time that despite the fact they haven't been in the show for their most of their marriage, they are actually the longest running married couple on Coronation Street.
And I think they feel proper genuine couple-like.
And far be it from me to criticise Coronation Street for wringing maximum drama out of every single relationship, but it's quite normal to be married and stay married.
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't happen to not every couple's lucky enough to stay married.
As lucky as us.
But it's not abnormal. It's not as abnormal as it is on Coronation Street.
And also, and I know you can't say who's the type or anything to have an affair, but I don't think that Aggie is the type to go off with Tim over Egg.
I also
really don't
think
so.
that they're either of each other's type, like physically.
No.
I just can't see what they would see in each other. No offence.
No, I know. But anyway, so just to bring out maximum drama, Ed sends her on her way. And anyway, later on we have whatever else there's. Peter finds Tim in the cab offices and says sorry for something or other. I don't really know. Tim says, "I've been making fun of impotent people all my life. I just don't like it when people say it about me." Tim goes to the hospital. He says, "Sorry for not playing on the team. If I had been on, maybe James wouldn't have been and he'd be still okay." Aggie's still feeling super guilty about not being there, but back in their Rovers, they're all having a drink to James's health. Evelyn kind of invites herself in when she realises that there's free drinks going, and Leo toasts to family. And then this is when Stephen gives Jenny a bit of a look, doesn't he, to go, "Oh, remember that storyline that's going on, eh? And at the end of the episode, we have Dr. Hart, Dr. Handley, who has been already on Coronation Street a few times with the previous Hart stories, and he drops the bombshell at the end of the episode that James is going to be okay, but brace yourself, Gemma.
Tell me.
James may never play football again.
No!
It's true. So, Friday, he's reeling from
devastated.
this news. We find out that he had this cardiac arrest, that had no lasting damage on him. And he's got this myopathy, is it called? I can't remember, this genetic condition.
I've got cardioapathy.
So they're going to have to...
Get it?
Cardioapathy, with all the Hart storylines that are going on Coronation Street at the moment. So anyway, this is what this Danish football bloke, Eriksson, had. And the whole family's going to have to get tested for it. So it's yet another medical condition story that will be forgotten about before you know it. And he's got to have a device fitted into his heart to guard against it happening again. And probably Summer's there on the sideline going, "Oh, I don't want to do that. Don't get any special magic devices put inside you. Don't do that, James. No. Squirt your insulin down the thing. That's what I do." But James is like, "But will I still be able to play football?" Well, wait and see, James. Let's get this robot heart inside you first.
I don't understand what they did, and I don't...
I don't like thinking about it. It was like... I was with Aggie when I was like, I'd be terrified. And James was as well. Like, he was told he was going to have this... He's going to have his heart cut open or something under local anaesthetic.
I found this completely terrifying and affecting and uncomfortable, because probably for the first time I kind of felt more like I was in the shoes of the person who was having it done to them, rather than like the people that were having to wait. And it's like knowing how scary it is to go in to have something done to you, and knowing that, you know, I won't be put under and they're going to do stuff to me and I'm going to be awake for it, and it you know, and it doesn't always, the pain thing doesn't always work.
No, it was... Oh, gave me the creeps.
And they look at, you know, it's just really scary. It's terrifying.
Yeah, and poor Aggie, I felt for her, because she was kind of cheering him up and saying, don't worry, it's a nurse, it'll be fine. Then when he gets wheeled away on his bed and she breaks down in tears, and I thought it was a great performance from Lorna there.
I thought she was being a hypocrite. Oh, right, so it's all right to cut up other people's kids, Aggie, but when it's your kid, you suddenly don't like it.
Anyway.
No, I thought she was great.
I thought
the Baileys were fantastic, all of them this week. Especially in this episode.
Yeah, and it took me by surprise. Honestly, I knew bits about what was going to happen, but I didn't expect to enjoy it as much as I did.
And it's weird too, because, you know, I'm not that bothered about James.
No, not at all.
But I really care about Toya. But I feel like I was more worried about James going into the operating
that's
theatre
a really good point.
than I am about Toya having a trial
coming up,
which is a really bad thing. I don't understand how that's happened.
Yeah. Anyway, James does fine. He's just a bit sore after the operation.
I thought he was going to die. Several points.
Yeah, when Ed and Ronnie turned up, we thought, they're going to go in there and he's going to have had a bit of an after attack or whatever.
Aftershock.
That's what's it called.
It's one of those things where the scene felt unnecessary and a bit too long. But it was just to establish at the end of the episode that Aggie doesn't want him to play football anymore.
Yeah,
but I was like, what's this scene? What is this scene for? Because we've already heard this from Aggie. She's always said this. I was just expecting him to flatline in the other room.
Yeah.
The whole time.
Because imagine what a double whammy that had been for the end of this episode. James dies out of nowhere, and there's been no kind of talk about, as far as I've seen, about him leaving the show.
No.
Imagine that and Spiders, the cop revelation. That would have been a great weekend cliffhanger.
I was just really suspicious about his...
Yeah, mega suspicious.
About his ability to survive the week.
Anyway, he says he's absolutely not giving up playing football, so breathe easy. Weatherfield County for the cup and all that. And Aggie's just kind of worried about it, because she thinks that he should retire, because he's not only got a bad heart, he's got a bad knee as well. Remember that time he fell off the curb last year?
Yeah.
When he was getting profiled.
Well, Christian Eriksen at the Euros, he was back playing football after 8... You've written 8 minutes, but it's 8 months.
Bionic.
He's like, oh, it can't keep me down.
8 months later, yeah. Anyway, that's it.
That's really remarkable. That really is remarkable that they can do that.
The wonders of modern science.
It's scary. I hate things like this, because it makes me think, what have I got? What have I got waiting? I'm sure. Am I going to die of a heart attack? That's why I don't play football.
No, you get a little robot heart. I've had vague memories of this happening in the football. Wasn't watching it. I didn't follow it at the time, but it is horrible that you could just keel over at any moment.
I didn't watch it live, but I think if you watched it live, I think you'd find this quite triggering.
Yeah.
And that's probably why people got annoyed on Twitter, but I joked about it before. I didn't know he was going to die.
Joke about everything. And it is James, come on. If you're going to joke about anything and make fun of anyone, it's going to be James Bailey.
I think we should ban all sports because it's dangerous.
Yes. This is kind of feeling a little bit David Barlow-ish for me, just to go totally retro on you there, because he was also the Weatherfield footballer of the 60s, wasn't he? He was like the star player or whatever, and he does his knee in, and then he's told he's never going to be able to play football again. I don't think that you can play for Weather County without having something horribly wrong go with you, because also Warren Baldwin was on Weatherfield. Did he do Weatherfield County? I can't remember, but they shipped him off to Spain before you know it. But if James doesn't do football, what will he do?
I know that's what Aggie's being so short-sighted. Is like, I'm sorry, I know you love him. He's your son. That's admirable. I think you're a great woman. but you know that he's useless.
James Bailey has been in the programme for what, 3.5 years? If he hasn't got football, he's only got gay going left for him. He's literally 2 things.
And Danny's
so he's going to
gone.
have to be a professional gay.
Michael.
I don't know.
Danny's in London.
So
he can't.
Well, James can go down to London to visit Danny, maybe. I don't know, I'm just saying. But I feel bad for him, but... But there was the thing last year when he was, when he came out and he was like, "Oh, I'm going to go and be a manager of football, and I'm going to make sure that all the, that there's more equality for gay players or whatever." And that never really came of anything, did it?
Maybe you can do that.
But yeah, I guess
maybe you can Ted Lasso it.
Yeah. So that was kind of it. I just thought it was really, really well done. I enjoyed the storyline. I love Jenny. She was hyper on something on Wednesday. Maybe that's why she didn't go to the football match. That she just had to have a little lie down.
I think she should get a heart thing fitted.
She was excited about the cup. She was excited about everything. She was proper buzzing on Wednesday's episode. And that was kind of about it, I think. Yeah. But there was no Daisy on Wednesday. What's going on with Daisy? Get her in more, please. Right, speaking of Jenny, kind of, Gemma, if you go on to the Stephen Reed storyline, because I believe that she features in that as well.
What's this?
Reed in the Red.
Right, Monday. Daisy is thrilled to hear that Jenny is engaged and she's going to leave to go to Canada. Ooh. And Jenny's like, look, there are a few bumps in the road and we... It's definitely split up.
Yeah, she likes to make out. We were definitely split up for just a little bit, just in case anybody finds out that I have a tongue down Stephen's neck.
Stephen catches Sarah coming back from the cafe with Carla's coffee. What a useless woman. Carla's just got her... she thinks she's being useful, but she's probably just sitting around, Googling what are pants. And so Carla's like, do you want a job, Sarah? Do you want a job to do? Go get me some coffee. Good girl, go get me coffee. And she's like, okay, that's really cool. Yes, can I take my briefcase?
I'm helping the business.
Yeah, so she says, I'm meeting some people today. He's going to help me with my ventures. In the pub later, Daisy sees Jenny is a bit out of sorts, and Jenny confesses about a drunken snog with Stephen, and she's thinking of telling Leo. Daisy's like, oh my God, don't. They were on a break. Forget it ever happened. Jenny and Stephen have a secret meet-up and she says, thanks for not blabbing about our snog. And he says, I don't want to get into trouble. And then, who turns up? It's Gabrielle, his wife, the one that was texting him.
Yes.
And she's like, hello, stranger. Or should I say, hubby?
I didn't like that line. It was very much, here we go, viewers. Here's who I am.
I'm your wife. What would I say? In case if I hadn't seen you for a year and I pulled up in a car, what would I say to you? Hello, it's me, your wife. And
bloody hell have you then?
And I'm Gemma, and today's conversation stream. She has a go at him for running off.
We get his back. We got Spider's backstory. We got Stephen's backstory this week.
He ran off, ignored her messages, and embezzled €200,000 of her company's money. And he's like, "It was for my business. Things were a bit of a mess." And she says, "I'm not going to go to the police right now because I want you to pay me back." Accents again. I know. Don't write in and tell me how great they are. I know. But she's like, the only reason you're not in prison is because you got to give me the money back and you can't do it when you're in jail, but I want it now. Sarah's in the cafe writing a proposal.
Of course it's in the cafe.
I'm just laughing at what this proposal is. My name is Sarah Barlow and I am going to make some women's clothes. I've been wearing women's clothes since I was a woman, which I have been my whole life apart from when I was a child. I have experience of wearing clothes and buying clothes, and I think that makes me the ideal candidate to do clothes.
And Steve was like, "Oh my gosh, Sarah, that's amazing.
Oh, you're so cool, I'll sponsor you.
Let me write my name on this, bottom of this."
So Bernie's nosing in and Stephen finds her and says, "How's it going?" And she's like, "I don't know, who'd want to invest in me?" You're right to be cautious. Anyway, no, he says, "Look, I'll tell you what, I'll put my name down as a partner to give it more gravitas." This is after she says that she's applying for a woman's grant. And he's like, "Do you know what this woman's grant needs? A man's touch." so unsurprisingly, that doesn't work. In the pub, Stephen's getting text from Gabrielle's ignoring it. And then Leo comes over and he says, "Oh, you know how I'm getting a job, an unspecified job in Canada? Can I talk to you so that I can give my boss some business leads for Canada. What are you talking about? What do you mean, Leo? What job are you getting? What do you mean?
Building.
Oh yeah, because Sarah says,
Factories
I'm
of
sure that
construction.
factories need construction. What the? Everybody in this is like so feeble-minded, it's ridiculous. Jenny comes in and she's like, look, what do you mean business leads? Stop talking to him. She sits down with Stephen and he says, I was really guilty about seeing when I see you, so maybe we should keep our distance from each other. And then Sarah comes in and she's like, oh, that didn't go very well. And then on Wednesday, Sarah says to Stephen that Adam suggested that Gran invest, but she doesn't want things to get nasty after like what happened with Nick and David, but she's right to worry about.
Yeah. Stephen
goes to the salon and he's got this power of attorney document and he tries to copy Audrey's signature onto it.
So what's he trying to do here? So that we're assuming that he's going to try and get power of attorney so that he can have control of her finances and whisk it all away.
My theory is that he's going to use the power of attorney to say that Audrey is not in her right mind because of her suicide attempt.
Yeah.
And he'll take control of her assets and then he'll siphon them off for himself. But he's trying to like forge it, and then Gabrielle rings him and he tells her that he's got this foolproof plan to get the money back. But then Audrey comes in. She doesn't mind that he's there, but she wonders what he's doing. And then he asks her what happened with Nick and David, and says he feels really guilty that he wasn't there to stop that from happening.
So this was a couple of years ago when David stole all of our money, wasn't it? And
David
Nick found out about it.
Hang on. Who? You said
Nick,
David twice.
No, Nick stole the money. David found out about it, and then they had a scrap by the lake.
Yeah, and Audrey found out she was mad, and she's like, "No, you don't worry about it. But you're the only person I trust." Sarah, Carla, and Stephen go to the pub, and he says, "I left my briefcase in the office," and he uses Carla's keys to get back. And Sarah says Stephen should have his own key. Carla seems distracted because Peter's talking with Griff. She doesn't like that, so she says yes. So then in the factory, Stephen's got the power of attorney documents and he's going to shred them, but he can't bring himself to do it.
Yes,
and then he meets...
I was speaking to a few people about this one, and when we saw it the first time, and I was busily tapping away on my notes, I thought that he did shred the attorney documents, and somebody else that I spoke to thought that he shredded them as well, but he doesn't, does he? He's got them hovering over the shredder, but he doesn't actually shred them. He's getting a bit of a conscience here and realising, no, I shouldn't do this to Mom. But as we find out from the final scene with Gabrielle, he is.
He tells her, "I'm going to borrow the money off my mum and give it back. I need to sort the paperwork." And she says, "Get on with it."
Yes.
And knock £200 off what you owe me and buy yourself a decent suit.
Yes.
So I think it's rude.
Well, no, yeah. Is it Imran's suit?
Also, can I just say, you £200 for a suit. If you don't like that suit that he's wearing, £200 is not going to get a better suit.
So Stephen going much further down into the path of darkness at this point. I
want to know what he thinks is going to happen here. He's going to burn all of his bridges with all of his family for this because they're going to know what he's done.
Yeah.
He can't secretly do this.
Well, he might be able to try. I just think that why doesn't, could he just tell Audrey the truth and say, Mum, I haven't got any money at the moment? Is he just too proud to admit that he's got no cash? Because he wouldn't have to go through all of this illegal shenanigans if he just told the truth about it.
Wonder how he ends up getting himself in so much trouble too.
Yeah, well, this is the thing with Stephen Reed, and the Ian McLeod had an interview published at the beginning of last week, and it's kind of about Stephen's dark side and everything. And one of the things he says on there is, well, he is a fairly blank canvas as a character. He's only been in a handful of episodes in the past, so we can kind of pretty much say what we want to about him. And I guess that includes not only that he could be a bit of a wrong 'un, but also, whatever you want to with his business. So I don't think it particularly matters. Are you bothered by the fact that they're making him evil, or do you think that he is blank enough? I think it's cool.
I don't really remember him being in the show before.
No.
I think it's great that they've got this character who's got this back history, and he always was a bit of the golden child, I think, the same way that Gail thinks Nick's the sun shines out of his bum.
Yeah. No, I've got no problem with them deciding to make him a wrong 'un. It just makes it more interesting because, like we said before, when they announced the returnees for this summer, he was the least interesting one for me. But he's actually they've done enough to make me pay attention to him.
And it's also like nobody's expecting Stephen Reed to return and then stay in the show until he's 85.
No.
I always expected him to be a short return, and the fact that he's going to be a villain makes me think that that's using the time way more wisely.
Mm. And I mean, they haven't had much of a villain this year on Coronation Street, have they? They are seriously lacking villain
award.
Well, this is why Sam was writing to Harvey in today's episode. Dear Mr. Gaskell, you shot my mum. We haven't got a good villain round here on my programme this year. Can you come back and terrorise us for a little bit, please? Can you come and he's probably getting them to shoot John, the rival for what is his affections.
There's a little kid that lives around here that keeps mouthing you off.
Anyway, I've got no problem with Stephen being a wrong.
I think it's brilliant. Also, I love his accent. I think this is getting you guys back in America for all the times you've made us English people villains in your TV programs and movies.
Very right.
Every time an American turns up in Coronation Street, it's like, oh dearie me, he's villains. He must be a villain.
Although, speaking of that, wasn't it weird to have two North American accents in that scene? Both of the scenes with Stephen and Gabrielle. It's like, has this ever happened on Coronation Street before? That you got two Canadians talking to each other with no other characters in there? It felt really weird, but I kind of liked it.
Oh, it's like the Bill when they never have two. It always has to be a policeman in the scene.
Yeah,
and there's two like criminals talking to each other. I can just imagine an old bitter pensioner who's given up watching Coronation Street because he got too racy in the 80s, flicking through the channels and seeing the two Americans talking to each other just tutting.
Yeah. I mean, Gabrielle is a bit of a thorn in Stephen's side at the moment, isn't she? I mean, I'd be watching her back because I think he might try and get her money next or worse. But she seems, it was fun to be introduced to her at last after that clue with the credit card a couple of weeks ago. But I think she needs to watch out. It was fun. It was fun stuff. I enjoyed that. As I also enjoyed, I guess, the Sam difference storyline. So this is all about Sam wanting to have a bit of a makeover, and when you start secondary school, it's your time to start again and reinvent yourself, isn't it? And I think I remember people, probably my mum and dad, saying that about me when I went to secondary school.
What? They told you to change everything about yourself?
Well, I wasn't the coolest person in my primary school either, believe it or not, and I didn't like football.
Only one person can be the coolest one.
I know. I think mum and dad told me this is my chance to be cool and make people not think I was a massive nerd. I'm sure some people said that about me. So I'm kind of sympathising a little bit with Sam here. But also, like Sam, I can't deny who I actually am.
People, be who you are, and people can take it or leave it, can't they?
Yeah. There's no way I'm going to pretend to like football for anyone.
Somebody's got to play chess.
Anyway.
That's enough, can I just say, the world does not need any more football fans. There are plenty of them already.
Yes, more chess fans, please.
It's fine. The
more
number that there are, that's fine. Just keep that number. So
Hope and Sam have been asked to do this presentation about themselves at school.
That sounds
something
terrible.
That they're interested in.
That sounds the worst thing I've ever heard.
And he's obviously... I remember I had to do that as well. In my first year of secondary school, we had to do one person per week, and I hated it.
What did you say?
Absolutely hated it. I don't remember. I blanked it out. But the speaking in front of the class was the worst thing. But I think that Sam maybe wouldn't really mind it. But he would be completely blind to the fact that he's boring everybody to death and making everybody laugh at him.
It probably would have been his idea if they not had said.
Yeah, probably would.
I think we should probably all do a presentation about myself so that people know who I am.
Well, yeah, he wants to find out about everybody else. We can take notes and calculate who would be the best bet for a friend for him, I suppose. But anyway, he's going to be talking about chess. And then after school, there's some nasty boys are trailing him down Victoria Street and pretending that they want to learn how to play it. And he completely believes them. These three yobbos there going, oh yeah, tell me about chess. And he's like, oh, you can come to the cafe after school maybe, and I will show you. They're clearly ribbing the heck out of him. And I would have thought that he'd be used to this by now, but I don't know. He says, yeah, come to the cafe later and I'll tell you all about it. What? Anything?
Well, I don't want to say.
Okay, don't say it then. So Sam goes to the cafe and he's kind of sitting around waiting for these guys to come around, and Hope comes in the end and says, I just saw them having a kickabout on the Red Rec. What Hope was doing on the Red Rec after school, I don't know, but never mind that. So Sam gets a bit upset. He's like, I'll never fit in anywhere. We have a bit of Bernie doing some sympathy as well, saying, I was a bit of an outsider when I was younger too, until I discovered the rave scene. So this kind of gives Sam the idea, not to get into raving or anything, but he needs to try and be cooler. So this is his mission for the rest of the week. And it's okay because he has got the coolest kid on the block, Hope Stape, to help him out.
Set fire to them if they don't like you.
Yeah, exactly.
So you should listen to Sam. Sam says, I am who I am, I can't be anyone else.
Yeah, true. So Wednesday, Hope's first piece of advice is pretend you're into football games. So he invites Liam and Jake making his a rare appearance on Coronation Street, round to his house for a game later. And yeah, things don't go quite so well when he gives it a try. He's like, and then he says, what does he say to them? This game requires no skill or strategy. And these two boys that are both towering over him, especially, was it Jake or was it Jack? It was Jack, wasn't it? It was later in the week that Jake comes along. It's too confusing, they got the same name. Anyway, Jack's like, oh, this my beloved football game. But yeah, Sam, to be honest, would rather be writing his letters, and they're kind of making fun of him for having a girlfriend, because Sam's leading them to believe that he's corresponding with Jelena, isn't he? Or is he actually writing letters to her? I don't know, because he's going on about saying it's retro and romantic. So I don't think he's retro. He's trying to be retro and romantic with his mother's killer.
If anyone's capable of writing and holding correspondence with more than one person at once, it's Sam.
Yeah, but he didn't join his handwriting on the envelope. Did you
terrible.
see? He's not going to pass it. Well, he's too late. I suppose he's passed his year 6 sats now. He can do what he wants in secondary school. So anyway, Friday, Sam's waiting at the bus stop and up walks Liam with his cool trainers. And Sam's like, are they cool? Are you cool? He's just desperately trying to find anyone who... Liam is not cool.
No, Liam's not cool.
Liam is absolutely not cool,
Sam's the coolest one in the show.
He totally is. Little does he know that Sam, I mean...
He's the most beloved child of
how
all.
many awards has Liam and Jake and Jack and that lot won? Exactly.
Oh,
Sam is the coolest one. I think they all start to need to be...
Isn't this a lesson?
We need to start being like him.
To believe in ourselves.
So... I think I missed some of the conversation, because later on it was Jelena's birthday party in the bistro. I was like, oh, did they say this was going to happen? Okay, I'll roll with it.
All you need to know is that he pretends he's into football and then he misses out on a chance of going to her house and playing chess.
Yes, because he's there in his football top, isn't he? And he gives her his present, and she's there with John, who also doesn't like football
or video games.
Or no, what a square,
nerd,
total square. And Jelena's, she says, oh, I was going to invite you around my house for chess later, but I'll invite John now.
What?
So Sam's like,
she's a flip flopper.
And there's a lesson for you. Yeah, no, there's a lesson for you, Sam. Don't deny who you really are.
No, I think the lesson is play to the crowd,
because your bird will go off with somebody else.
You need to plan who you're being what to.
Mm-hmm.
You need to be, no point going up and trying to win friends at a chess party by saying you like football.
Yes, that's true, actually. I don't think it was a chess-themed party. But...
Well, it had a chess-themed cake.
Did it? I didn't see it. Oh, cool.
Also, I just want to
nerdy.
Point out that I'm pretty sure there was a bit when Sam was stuck in the van and he had the football.
He did. He was listening to football
and
on the
he
radio.
suddenly became a football nerd for like a week, and he's obviously forgotten everything he learned.
I know. I thought it was.
I think that they forgot that happened.
Memory. Anyway, so Sam ends up leaving the party because he's been thrown to the sidelines in favour of John. And then he goes and posts a letter in the postbox, and it's to Harvey Gaskell.
Right, so everyone remind remember who
Harvey
Harvey is.
Gaskell, the evil drugs lord of Coronation Street 2021, who broke
Menacer of Leanne.
Menacer of Leanne, repeller of rain. He can stand in the middle of a storm on top of a van and not get wet at all.
Brilliant.
And shooter of Sam's mum, Natasha. So why on earth is Sam writing to him?
That's why Natasha's picture suddenly appeared at the
to remind us
at Nick and Leanne and Twiz.
Do you think what's going on? Is this a bit of restorative justice? Is he getting a case of the Michael Rodwells here?
Dear Mr. Gaskell, you killed my mum. I just wondered if you felt bad, and don't worry about me because I am doing all right. Bishop to King's 4.
Oh yeah, is he playing
I don't know if
postal
that's the
chess
move.
with
I don't
Harvey?
know anything about chess.
He definitely does blame Harvey, doesn't he? Because somebody, I can't remember who it was at the time, blamed themselves for Natasha's death, and Sam was like, no, the only person responsible here is the man that shot her.
I wonder whether he's just writing to him to say, why did you kill my mum? Because it seems like the sort of thing that he would do.
It is.
Like,
I mean, if he can't tell when people are ribbing him and clearly making fun of him about chess, maybe he is naive enough to write to him.
He probably thinks, I'm sure that if he explained himself, he'd have a really good reason. So I'll just ask him, and then it all make sense.
Yeah.
Without realising that, life is cruel and so are people.
Although, I mean, I suppose he also... I don't know how much he's been told, but I mean, we all know that it was a case of mistaken identity and he was trying to shoot Leanne, didn't he?
Would that make it better if you were Sam?
But I would have thought Sam might already know this, but sometimes I think the child characters on Coronation Street are omniscient, and yeah, they.
Yeah, but no, you're not going to tell him that. That doesn't make it better.
Anyway,
right, we done?
That very interesting twist there. I hope we get to find out more about it this week. Although it felt like, here's a little tease. We'll come back to that in a few weeks.
What really makes me wonder, are we going to see Harvey again? Because the only way we could do is if he breaks out of prison again, which would be stupid.
Stop sending me letters. Anyway, can you let me back in now?
Just go beat a kid up.
Oh, maybe poor Harvey's heart will be broken, and he will turn.
Do you think he'll be like, oh, I think I'm going to have to give up crime.
Yeah, exactly. Right, Ken makes a play for Wendy. This was fun.
Monday, Mary and Ken agree that Evelyn would be perfect for the role of the nasty neighbour. And Ken wants to play the hero.
Oh yeah, they're all getting ready for their auditions, aren't they?
Yeah.
I can't remember, there was a funny bit where Mary's telling Evelyn that she's doing a great job being in character, and Evelyn says, no, I'm just being me.
Ken's having lunch with Wendy. They talk about the play. He says, I don't think that it's got a very good script, and they have a run through of the play together. And Tracy walks in as, in character, they're confessing their love for each other, and says to Wendy, or you slap her. And they say, it's just a play, it's not real. And Tracy says, I don't care. This woman caused my man more heartache than anyone in her entire life. I think that's wrong, because I think it was Ken.
I think it was Tracy herself.
Well, it's either it's Ken or it's somebody in that room,
yeah.
and it ain't Wendy. Wendy says, I'm going. Ken has to go at Tracy, says, it's my house, and I'll decide who I'll have over and which play I shall rehearse while they're here. Chases after Wendy. They go to the cafe. She says, I don't want to get in between you and Tracy. He says, never mind about that. I love being in a play. He's been bitten by the bug. Mary and Evelyn are there, learning the lines. And Mary's annoying Evelyn by reading out loud. Just like they used to do in the
well, yeah, there was just a nice kind of general banter going on in that scene. I thought it was... there's one thing I'm liking about... There's many things I'm liking about this story, but it feels like very low stakes and, dare I say, classic Corrie-ness about it, isn't there? They're just kind of talking about whatever. Yes.
It's like a synopsis from like 1972.
Yeah, it is.
Like, it is. The teapot is broken and they must go and mend it, but there is no glue. Wednesday, post audition debrief for Ken, Mary, Wendy, and Evelyn, and then Welsh Thess.
Yes, Nigel came back, wasn't he?
Beautiful accent.
Oh, I love Nigel. So he was the guy that was in the.
He lives around the corner from Phil.
Yeah, yes, he was the guy that was in the Amdram Society that. Jude employed to pretend to be fellow marine biologists or something, didn't he, when he was trying to convince Angie that he was actually one himself?
Yeah.
And so I'm sure, and he was the one who was in charge of the Bugsy Malone play that the kids were doing at school. So this is definite recurring character, and he's great. Yeah. And now he's writing plays for for OAPs.
Not very good plays.
Not very, no.
He reveals the casting. Cyril is played by Brian. Lady Winterton.
Hope Cyril's got a limp.
Is played by Wendy. Mrs. Invers is Mary, and that's it. See you later. It's only got 3 characters.
Yeah, there's only 3 characters, and what do you know? They're all characters in Coronation Street, and they're sitting around this table. How handy for me.
Well, Ken and Evelyn don't get a part, and they're furious.
Evelyn's mad. No, Ken's
well,
okay.
no, Ken's a good sport, but you know inside he's fuming. Nigel goes to visit Ken at number 1 and tells him it was so close, mostly down to the balance. I thought that said balance of the nostrils. Balance of the ensemble, not the nostrils. He wants Ken's advice on the script. He says, is it any good? And then Ken says, well, it's very original. And then he gets offered the chance to work on the script, so he jumps at it. Wendy comes round, and Ken tells her about Nigel's proposal, and he's really excited. And Wendy says, actually, you know what? If you are going to work on the script, then I have some notes about my character. And he's like, brilliant, bring it on.
So this is Ken's dream, isn't it? He's gonna be writing,
bossing people around,
making a play. Yeah, bossing. Yeah, I mean, yeah, this is
has
good
dominion
stuff.
over the street at last. And Evelyn, what's she gonna do now? Maybe you can write her a part.
Yeah, he could. We when we went to the Coronation Street tour, we were told a little bit about where this play is going, so we can't speculate because we do know quite a bit about where this particular story is going, and it's going to be quite fun. So rather than pretend we don't know, let's just move on with this for a little bit, because as I said at the beginning, should be a short podcast tonight. Cardi, they were back again on tonight's episode, and Ardy and Kelly are still back looking at this Gretna Green stuff on Gary and Maria's laptop. And Gary comes in, so they have to close it down quickly. And we find out that Rick's house has finally been sold. I don't know, is anyone waiting for that?
380 grand.
Was it? Also Jake, actually Jake this time. Jake, I don't know what's going on with Izzy, but she's had enough of him. And so he's going to be moving in with her for a bit. And Kelly's like saying, oh, Ardy, don't matter, we're going to get married soon and we can get our own place. So later on,
this was so...
Jake and Liam are playing on their PlayStation,
contrived.
Aren't they? And Kelly ends up coming to play as well, but she kind of wipes the floor with them, does she? And
no,
who
she
is
says...
it that's rubbish?
No.
Jake,
They're playing, and she says, you're rubbish, why don't you come and look on the laptop, and I'll play him, and show him how to
oh, yeah, and she says, I got to play... I did lots of PlayStation playing when I was in the
juvenile delinquent college.
Yeah, so Jake learns that Kelly was a bit of a wrong-un.
And then she opens up her screen.
Yeah, and like, oh, there's a Gretna Green website there. And Jake says, what's Gretna Green? And then Kelly says, it's a football team. And in fact, I'm going to go up to Scotland to see them play soon. And Jake's like, okay, I've never heard of them, but I'll buy that.
Is Jake's new actor? Because I didn't
No,
even...
he has been in it before. He's probably, I'm going to say,
really
fewer than 5 appearances.
He's got very striking hair.
He does. He takes after his dad, bless him, doesn't he? With the striking swoosh of the hair.
I don't think it's genetic.
Yeah, but you can tell Gary has a say in how he does it. He's like, I'm taking my lad to the hairdressers. Anyway, so Gary and Maria get back.
No, hang on a minute.
What?
Did you say that she says it's
a
football team?
Yeah, she says it's a football team. I said that. Yeah, Gary and Maria get back later. That Kelly dashes off to meet Ardy, and she's barely been gone for 10 seconds when Jake says, "Oh, Kelly's well into football. In fact, she's going up to Scotland to see Gretna Green play." And Gary and Maria are like, hang on a minute, what? So they clearly, in a very, very contrived manner.
I don't know how else they could have done this, but that just felt really. It
did. I'm not particularly bothered. I mean,
no,
it needed to get out,
all the
doesn't
things
it?
To moan
so,
about.
Yeah, whatever. Jake finds out about it this way. So anyway, yeah, they realise that this competition has stepped up a notch, and they're actually going to go and get spliced up past the border. So Maria says, right, we need to sort them out of this because this is a crazy idea.
Why did they... I can't remember if there was a reason why they've decided they have to do it now. Is there?
They're just kind of caught up in the romance of it. It's kind of sweet, but I'm definitely on Maria's side that it's a bit crazy.
Of course it's crazy.
And I think they're a lovely couple, but...
I'm on Gary's side
here. They're a bit young. How are you? Yeah, well, Gary says, oh, don't worry, what's the worst that could happen? It's only marriage, it's only a bit of papers, is what he's pretty much saying, isn't it? They can just get a divorce or something. Well, let them get away with it, because the last time I tried to put my foot down with Kelly, it drove her away, so basically... She's got me backed into a corner here.
Right, my reasons for being behind Gary here is that he's not her dad. She's old enough, and
She's only 17.
listen, she's not going to listen to them anyway. They can't stop her from doing this. All they can do is make sure they do it safely. It's like when kids have sex, you know, when your teenager wants to go and have, you just say, I don't want you to do it, but here's a condom, for goodness sake. You know?
Don't use that one that's been in your wallet since year 8.
If I was Gary, I wouldn't try to stop her, but what I would be doing is putting that money in a trust that she can't access until she's 30 or something.
The house money?
Yeah.
I think that I always think they should have really tried to dissuade them.
I would have said a bit more to them.
I know it's good for the drama and everything.
I think if I was them, and I've spoken before about how I've been in a situation like this before where I knew somebody shouldn't have got married, but I just said they're going to do it anyway. So support them because they're going to need you when it all goes wrong. But I would say I'm going to have a conversation with you about this, and I'm going to tell you that it's a bad idea, and I'm going to explain to you why, and then after the conversation is done, you decide what you want to do, and I will not mention it again. But I'm always going to be here for when it goes wrong.
Yeah, but they didn't do that, did they? Gary's like, yeah, go for it.
He's right there. Well,
and he's kind of persuaded Maria.
But he's done this before, though. He's done this before with Kelly, where he's gone, you know, do make your own mistakes. Because he's right. He's not her dad, and he can't stop her.
Maria's there biting her tongue, isn't she?
All he can do is alienate her. And also, the other thing, I think, is that they're right in what... I don't think they've planned this, but they're right in their kind of pincer approach, where Maria's like, this is bad, I don't want you to do it. And Gary's like, I'm not going to stop you. So she knows what's going on. She's not... She understands they don't agree.
Yeah.
Maria's made enough of a fuss about it. And she also is even more removed from the situation than Gary is.
Speaking of Maria,
because she didn't murder her dad.
Why wasn't Maria at this protest? I can't believe that Spider's back. Like, he's not had a single scene with Maria, has he? It's like really weird that there's two completely and utterly independent environmental storylines going on Coronation Street at the moment. But anyway, yeah, they decide. What doesn't Gary tell them that they need to go and explain to Dev? And so they pootle off to do that, and Ardy's going to stay with him. Dev's reaction, Gemma?
What? To what?
To the engagement.
He didn't like it.
He hasn't had it yet. They're going to go back. Oh, no, has he? Oh, no, yeah, he does know that they're going to get...
He kicked him out.
Yeah, that's right. He knows that, but the whole Gretna Green thing, it feels like he should kick up a bit of a fuss.
I think if I was Ardy, I'd go, Dad, she's got £380,000.
Yeah, she could buy into the Alahan Empire, couldn't she?
This
she
is
could
what
be
I
his
mean.
next investor.
This is what I mean. If I was Gary, I'd say, I know that he's not marrying you for your money because he only just found out that you had it. But I really think that you should protect your assets before you go into this marriage because, you know, how bad would it be for Kelly if she gets married at 17?
Yeah, that's really true,
divorced.
Actually.
That's what,
and then
that's
Ardy.
What I meant. And,
yeah.
you know, and Ardy gets half of that much money for a marriage that might not even last a year.
Well, I hope they do take a solemn moment of reflection to think about the sanctity of marriage.
Yes, me too.
And not just go into it because they're in the soap.
I'm just thrilled that two kids that, you know, the younger generation still see the value in it.
It's nice, but it does feel like very, very out of touch with reality, considering that, you know, as we now know, less than
I know
half...
you keep harping on about this.
Less than half of couples get married, which is crazy, and yet... all soap couples must get married. It's in part of the job description of being a soap character.
The most important thing is that you are aware of what your rights are in a relationship with or without a marriage because they are very different and you don't get the same sort of legal protections when you're not married.
Okay. Which
I don't think is right, but if that's what you want, you just need to be aware of it. That's all I'm saying.
Okay.
But, you know, for example, where... Kelly and Ardy to get married, say Kelly ends up in hospital and they're trying to decide what treatment to give her, Ardy would be able to say what he thinks they should do.
Okay.
Whereas if they were just in a relationship, it wouldn't actually be down to him. It would be Gary? I don't know. But you see what I mean? You don't have that. Yeah. There's all kinds of things that you don't realise and I don't think necessarily is fair, but... Should we do another story?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing more of that this week.
I
really like Garrett,
I think
Ardy and Kelly. I'm looking forward to the story picking up again.
Kelly and Ardy, I never expected to think that that's a good match, but I like both of them. I think they're sweet kids. I think of all the characters who could get married right now, I think I like them the best for a wedding.
Not Toya and Spider.
Well, they've known. I mean, he's still married.
Oh yeah, good point.
But do you not? I think they're very, very sweet.
Oh, they are very, very sweet. It's just in the back of my head, it's screaming, "No, they're so young and they clearly don't know what they're talking about."
But it feels very Nick and Leannish to me, and those two are still together, and it's been many years of ups and downs and ins and outs and etc.
Yeah, well, come back to me in 25 years and we'll see if Cardi is still a thing.
Okay, I'll always love a nice Cardi.
I think it's going to have a few holes in it by that point.
Is it my go?
It is your go.
Stu's been framed. Friday, people are still cancelling bookings at Speed Dial because they don't like the taste of murderous food. Alia's been looking through Stu's files, but she doesn't know what she's looking for, and Stu says it's a bit of a waste of time. And Alia says we need a solicitor. Then they get a phone call, and it's more abuse about Stu. So he goes and sits sadly in Victoria Gardens, only to be harassed by a bunch of nasty youths who are looking up an article about him, and they start heckling him and filming him. And Stu strides off, and they follow him and push him over. And then Nina comes and rescues him and takes him back to Yasmin's house to see if he's okay. And he's very grateful. And she says that she owed him for helping her take Corey down. And he says, "Do you want to know if I did it or not?" And she says, "Oh, it doesn't matter."
Very succinct synopsis there, Gemma.
Yep.
That's what happened. Nothing new really, but hooray, he's got Nina on his side now. So if you wanted any more proof that he is the side of good, then well, there we go. So that was this week's.
That was the week that was.
Last week's Coronation Street. What did you think?
I thought
What's your overall judgment?
I want justice for Toya from the show. I want them to give her proper place on the dais. To elevate her. She's the queen of the street. I loved it. I thought it was great. There were some really great twists and shocks. Unfortunately, I knew that some of them were coming, so I don't know how I would feel about them if I didn't.
There weren't any stories in here that I wasn't bothered about, apart from, I guess, the Stew thing. I'm still like, I'm not
I liked
really,
all of it, I think.
But that was only a tiny bit. Yeah, I enjoyed all the storylines.
So, the Spider stuff I love because I love Toya and Spider. The Bailey stuff really surprised me at how much I got invested in it, and I thought the Baileys did a fantastic job. And more of this, please, for the Baileys. I'm loving Stephen's low level evilness, running around not shredding documents. Sam, maybe the weakest of the week for me because I just.
Well, it wasn't high octane blood pumping. I do. I think it's sweet.
But very intriguing that it's ranked to Harvey. And then the Ken stuff, like you said, very vintage Corrie. The Ardy and Asher stuff, Ardy and Kelly, sorry, I love them. I think they're both really sweet and cute, and I like watching both of them. Although I have to say, Ardy's not been quite so funny since he's been hanging around. He hasn't
been quite
Kelly.
so funny recently,
he's lost his buffoonishness.
Yeah,
and Stu been framed. I do really like Stu, but this was just like a placeholder to remind us that he still exists. And,
yes.
So I think very good line up the story, some really great twists. Mostly the fact that Spider's a spy and James is dodgy ticker land.
So what score are you going to give it? You got one in mind?
I'm going to give this 4
Whoa.
Tiddly trophies.
Okay. I was wondering 4, but then I thought I gave last week 4, didn't I? Was this as good? I don't know. I'm gonna save my higher scores, and I do put 4 along that kind of ranking for hopefully the next couple of weeks. And I'm gonna give this 3.5 thoroughly checked and grammatically correct secret letters out of 5. But almost a 4. I did very much enjoy it. Character of the week. It's a tricky one because, like you said, every story had its great characters.
Well, there's lots of characters that we like this week.
Yeah.
And the characters that I don't particularly like actually did a bloody great job of making me care about what they were getting up to.
Yeah. I think.
Should I give it to James?
Don't give it to James.
In case he's going to
die.
He might die.
James Bailey. He didn't do anything. He just fell over, but he did a good job of it.
Barely did anything.
He Bailey did, yeah. I am going to...
Is it Spider? Is it Toya? I mean, I can't get rid of Toya because...
She's just a bit annoying.
She's not annoying, she's just... You know... Okay, you know that scene in Who Framed Roger Rabbit where Jessica Rabbit says, I'm not bad, I'm just drawn this way.
Yeah.
That's what Toya's like. I'm not annoying, I'm just written that way.
I think I'm going to give it to Spider. I love Spider.
I
liked
Spider.
his twist. I like how he's really trying to protect Toya, and when he confessed his love for her and was like, you're the only one that I've ever loved.
That was beautiful.
Lovely.
I think I'm going to give it to Spider too, because him being an undercover policeman has added a whole new layer onto his character.
Yes.
And really changed everything we know about him and his return up to this point.
I still like, the first time that he came back, literally on the first episode he came back, he was having that dodgy phone call at the end, wasn't it? But it turned out that I think he was phoning
planning something.
Yeah, planning his protest, but was it? Who knows? It might not have been.
I know, I want to go back and watch all
he also had that other dodgy phone call a month or so ago.
He said he loves someone.
Yeah, he's like, I can't wait to get back to you either.
No, wait a minute, you're right.
So
that wasn't his friend from work, was it?
That's what I think.
No, it wasn't his friend from work.
Yeah, no. I think it wasn't his friend from work.
Going, oh, Spider, it's really sad around the station when you're not here because you make really good vegan brownies. It's like, yeah, I love you too, man. I'll be back soon, though. I'm sure I'm going to bring down this evil gang of protesters that throw milkshakes.
I really, really, really hope that this is the last of Spider's deep dark secrets, because every time he's given a shifty look in the past couple of months, I'll be like, no, Spider, don't make him evil.
I've just thought,
he's lovely.
I think I just worked out what it is.
What?
I'm not going to say anything.
No, say it.
No, I can't.
Why? Can you not?
No.
Oh,
I think I might know another secret.
Oh, okay, well you can't say that. Do I know it?
I think you might if you really thought about it.
Oh no. Okay, fine. All right.
Can I just say also to everybody listening, we don't like spoilers, and this is a very weird period that we're going through where we know too much.
We do know far too much at the moment.
We will not make a habit of this. This is not something I want to carry on doing. And so once we get through the next,
there's
couple
literally
of months,
3 weeks, 3 or 4 weeks, and then we won't know anything that's happening again. It's very rare. We don't want to be rubbing your nose in it.
I know this is very irritating. And it's not really good for us either, because it makes it more difficult to talk about stuff and speculate. So once we go through this period, we'll be just as stupid as we normally are.
Well, that's why I'm being honest about it. Literally, I don't think there's anything more I know about the Spider storyline. There is more that I know about the James storyline.
Well, we won't talk any more about other things that you know, because even that's a spoiler.
Okay, fine.
Right, so thank you for listening. We're going now, aren't we?
Sorry, yes.